Again, it's fairly ambiguous even at this stage because it's been made clear that he's not going to bring Meghan and the children to London, but that doesn't mean necessarily that they won't come elsewhere, albeit possibly Birmingham, where he's going to be doing the countdown from the Invictus Games, which I think Meghan probably will attend. And then as regards possibly bringing the children to meet their grandfather, the King, we've got Sandringham, got Balmoral, got Highgrove. There are places outside London where the door has been left open to that happening, but I think it would be very much in private. But you're right, it's all over security. And for the life of me, I cannot understand why this has been allowed to happen. I don't understand why he's not being given security. He feels he needs it. He is the king's son. His children are the king's grandchildren. He is a former army officer, by his own reckoning, who has killed 25 Taliban fighters. And as regards anyone who wishes this country ill, he still is probably a working royal. They don't know the difference or don't bother with these nuances of whether you're a working royal or not. He's a prince, he's royal, and he's a target.
Yeah, but he's not a working royal, is he? And he has got security. He has got security. He does get a level of security. It's not like he's going around without security. He wanted Ravik, which was the problem here. So he has security. He's not coming with no protection. But what he's complaining about is that he's not getting the highest level royal protection that he feels he deserves. But he's made it worse for himself, giving out kill counts as though he's not really bothered about the security of himself and his family, which is very dangerous. And also, a lot of people who look at this feel that he's just using the children as bargaining chips to get what he wants, which is rather unattractive.
Well, I think that's very callous to suggest that. I think that he feels that he believes his security team, who've drawn up a report who say that they've identified at least 6 terror threats against him and his family, 5 of which originated in the UK. He believes his security team, who say they've seen an Al-Qaeda document calling for his assassination. He's not so perturbed about his own security, but he is about his children's and his wife's, particularly after what happened to his own mother. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for security for a few days. We're talking about a few days in which he could have the security which involves armed protection. Yes, he'll bring his own team over, and yes, he pays for his own security. He's even offered to pay for security over here, but you can't buy the Metropolitan Police. That's not possible. They're not for hire. But he does know that they have access, obviously, to arms, to carry guns, which his team will not, and they also have access to intelligence, which his security team do not.
Well, then why can't he do it not in conjunction with a visit for the Invictus, but do it as something where it's just specifically focused bringing his family to this country? See, that's the problem. He appears to use these things to try and force the security, and then he'll go around the country doing this, that and the other and promoting whatever he wants, which I think the royal family have had a sick of, really. He's not a working royal.
He's not a working royal, but he does some very good work, and the Invictus Games are amazing. I mean, everybody must see that. I do agree with you, though, that I think it would have been better if he'd come over and done these semi-official bits, you know, the visit to the Chelsea hospital and the Invictus Games by himself, and at a time that none of us knew about, probably brought the country in, the children into this country to see the King. It must be possible. I mean, the word is they are in Europe at the moment on holiday.
Jennie,
you just watched that clip. You already saw it. Jennie Bond joining GBNews, looking straight at Nana Akua and saying it plain and simple. He is royal and he is a target. When the host tried to steer the conversation and downplay it, Jennie shut it down fast. No spin, no agenda, just facts. And that moment is exactly why this clip is going viral. This is the kind of straight-talking royal commentary we actually need more of. In the middle of all the noise and toxicity, someone with decades of experience in royal reporting reminded everyone of the obvious truth. Prince Harry is still a target. Not because he wants to be, not because he's asking for special treatment, but because he was born royal, served his country with distinction, and remains a high-profile member of the family even after stepping back as a working royal. Right now, with Harry preparing to travel to London alone, while Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet stay behind due to serious security concerns, Jennie Bond's words hit different. They validate everything Harry has been saying for years. The threats are real, the risks are genuinely elevated in the UK. And pretending otherwise doesn't make any of it go away. It only makes the situation more dangerous. Let's be honest, this security situation has been dragging on for far too long, and it's exhausting to watch. A confidential report recently revealed 6 active terrorist threats against Harry, 5 of which originated right here in Britain. His private security team has been crystal clear. Without proper state-backed protection that allows for an armed response, they cannot adequately protect him on UK soil. That's why Harry is once again making this trip solo. He's showing up for his commitments, especially work tied to the Invictus Games that mean so much to him, but he's not willing to put his wife and children at risk. That decision speaks volumes about the kind of father and husband he is. This isn't entitlement. This is responsible parenting and basic self-preservation in the face of documented danger. Archie and Lilibet deserve to know their British heritage. They deserve the chance to visit family, experience the places their father grew up, and build relationships with relatives without living under the constant shadow of credible terrorist threats. But when those threats exist and the institution that should protect them refuses to provide the necessary support, what choice do Harry and Meghan have as parents? Jennie Bond's straightforward take stands in such contrast to so much of the commentary we usually see in royal coverage. Too many voices in that space love to dismiss Harry's concerns. They call him dramatic. They say he should just pay for everything himself and stop complaining. They ignore the documented intelligence reports, the Al-Qaeda mentions, the fixated stalkers, and the elevated risk specifically in the UK. But when a veteran journalist like Jennie Bond, someone who has covered the royals for years, says he is royal and he is a target, it becomes a lot harder for the gaslighters and derangers to twist the narrative. One thing that really stood out about Jennie Bond's comments was that she wasn't asking anyone to agree with Prince Harry on every issue. She wasn't arguing that people have to like him, support every decision he has made, or ignore the disagreements that have surrounded him over the years. Her point was much simpler than that. Security should be assessed on the basis of risk, not popularity. She reminded viewers that those who pose genuine threats are not interested in the fine print of palace arrangements. Extremists are hardly sitting around debating who is or isn't a working royal before deciding who they see as a symbolic target. In Jennie's view, Harry's royal status, his military background, and his global profile are factors that continue to make him vulnerable, regardless of the role he currently holds. That was a reality-based argument rather than an emotional one, and it cut through much of the usual noise surrounding this topic. Another revealing moment came when the discussion drifted away from security itself and toward Harry's personal decisions. Instead of focusing on intelligence, risk assessments, or the practical differences between private security and state-backed protection, the conversation suddenly became about whether Harry had somehow created his own problems or was using his children to strengthen his case. Jennie Bond immediately challenged that line of thinking, calling it very callous. Whether someone agrees with Harry or not, reducing a parent's concern for the safety of their children to a negotiating tactic ignores the seriousness of what is actually being discussed. Bond redirected the conversation back to where it belonged, protecting lives rather than scoring points in another chapter of the never-ending royal culture war. Perhaps that's why this clip has resonated with so many online. It wasn't because Jennie Bond suddenly became a campaigner for the Sussexes or because she abandoned decades of royal reporting. If anything, it was the opposite. She spoke as someone who has spent years covering the institution and understands both its traditions and its realities. When a veteran royal correspondent says, "He is royal and he is a target," people tend to pay attention, because those words come from experience rather than social media outrage. At a time when so much royal commentary seems driven by personalities, tribal loyalties, and endless clickbait, hearing someone return the discussion to the basic question of safety felt like a rare moment of clarity. Sometimes the simplest observations end up carrying the greatest weight, and this was one of those moments. And speaking of the derangers, they are already flooding the comments, attacking Jennie, claiming she's biased or insisting that the threats don't exist. This is the same crowd that has spent years harassing Harry and Meghan online, spreading conspiracy theories, doxing them, and creating the very toxic environment that makes the UK feel unsafe for the Sussex family in the first place. Their denial isn't just annoying, it's part of the problem. It fuels the stochastic terrorism the security report itself warned about. Let's not forget the wider context, because this didn't happen overnight. Since 2020, when Harry and Meghan made the brave decision to step back as working royals, Harry has been fighting an uphill battle for proper security. He lost his automatic royal protection almost immediately. He's gone through multiple legal battles. He's requested regular risk reviews that were promised but often didn't materialize. He's even offered to help fund additional protection. Yet here we are in 2026, and the situation remains unresolved. Meanwhile, other members of the family continue to enjoy full protection and glowing PR coverage without having to beg or fight in court for basic safety. The contrast is glaring and unfair. We recently saw Kate at Wimbledon, mic'd up under her jacket for what many called a perfectly staged PR moment, receiving wall-to-wall positive press and full institutional support. William and the working royals get the security they need without question. Even Prince Andrew had arrangements for years despite everything. But Harry, a combat veteran who actually put his life on the line for his country in Afghanistan, and the son of the current king, is left fighting for basic safety so he can bring his own children home. King Charles's silence and inaction on this issue is particularly deafening and disappointing. This is a man who constantly preaches about unity, reconciliation, family values, and bringing the Commonwealth together in his public speeches. Yet, when it comes to his own son, that unifying spirit seems to disappear. The excuses we keep hearing, it's a home office matter, Ravek makes the decisions, we can't interfere, feel weaker and more hollow every single time they're repeated. Influence matters. A quiet word from the monarch carries enormous weight. The failure to resolve this security deadlock continues to keep Archie and Lilibet away from their UK family and their grandfather. For Meghan, this must be incredibly painful as a mother and wife. She has created a safe, loving, and stable environment for her children in California, far from the intense scrutiny and threats. The idea of bringing Archie and Lilibet into a situation with known terrorist threats and inadequate protection is simply not an option. No parent should ever have to make that impossible choice between family connection and physical safety. Meghan has been a fierce protector of her family from day one, and her decision to keep the children away shows strength, not weakness. Harry's strength and resilience through all of this is remarkable to watch. Despite the institutional barriers, the public criticism, the legal fights, and the personal pain of family separation, he continues to show up. He shows up for veterans through the Invictus Games. He shows up for his charitable work. He shows up as a devoted father and husband. That's the mark of real character, doing what's right, even when the system makes it harder. Jennie Bond's video call moment on GB News is a powerful reminder that not everyone in royal reporting is willing to play the same old game of spin and deflection. Some people are still willing to tell the truth. Harry is royal, and because of that, he will always be a target. The responsible and decent thing is to acknowledge that reality and provide the protection needed, not punish him for choosing freedom, love, and authenticity over staying trapped in a toxic institution. As Harry heads to London alone once again, the conversation Jennie Bond helped spark is more important than ever. Will this trip finally push the institution and the government to take meaningful, long overdue action on his security? Or will we see more of the same, more separation, more excuses, and more pain for a father who just wants to serve and connect with his roots safely? This situation also raises bigger questions about the future of the monarchy itself. How can an institution that claims to represent tradition, duty, and family continue to treat one of its own this way? How can King Charles talk about legacy and unity while allowing this divide to persist? Younger generations are watching closely, and moments like this only accelerate the growing disconnect many feel toward the royal family. The Sussexes have built something meaningful outside the constraints of royal life through Archewell, their advocacy, their projects, and most importantly, their focus on raising Archie and Lilibet with love and purpose. They didn't ask to be punished for leaving, they simply wanted freedom and safety. The fact that they still have to fight for the latter years later shows how deep the institutional resentment runs. To everyone watching who supports Harry and Meghan, your voices matter. The derangers want us to stay silent, but the more we speak up, the harder it becomes for the spin machine to control the narrative. If you stand with Harry and Meghan and you're tired of the double standards, the hypocrisy, and the failure to protect them, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video far and wide. We're stronger when we stand together and keep demanding better. Thank you for being part of the Trendline TV family. We'll keep speaking truth, supporting the Sussexes, and calling out the nonsense no matter how loud the other side gets. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, family. Peace.